Hello again, everyone. I wanted to talk about my experience with having a low sex drive and thinking that I am asexual and not really feeling connected to my physical body and just my experience with all of those things. Just to start out, I just want to say that, after the past 10 years of trying to figure out what my sexuality is and just how I feel about sex in general, I ultimately decided that I am gay, but I still feel like I'm pretty low sex drive for a gay man. I mean, I don't know any other gay men in my life who are as asexual as me, so I kind of just wanted to talk about that and also talk about, I don't know, feeling alienated and isolated from the gay community because I don't feel very sexual and I do feel kind of asexual, even though I definitely do not identify as asexual because I do still have sexual urges and I have enjoyed sex from time to time, but I do feel like I mostly enjoy the idea of sex and the imagination and the fantasy of different sexual scenarios, but when I actually have the physical sex for real, I don't like it. It doesn't live up to my expectations. I find it honestly kind of physically off-putting too and kind of gross. Not due to any like moral or ethical reasons at all. I have nothing against sex. I have nothing against people having as much sex as they want and being sexually liberated. I love that. But for me personally, I just kind of find human bodies kind of gross and also very much body fluids I find very gross. All of them. No exception. I find all of them very gross. Saliva, sweat, semen, everything. I don't know if that's like a symptom of autism or what exactly is wrong with me, but I mean, there have been times in my life where I was so horny that I was able to kind of ignore my disgust, but most of the time I'm not that level of horny. Even when I am horny, I'm not so horny that I can overlook how disgusted I am. And I think that really makes it hard for me to enjoy sex because people have smells and they have tastes and I don't like them. Even people who are very clean and very healthy and they took a shower, I don't know, it's still so gross to me. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I guess I kind of grew up my entire life feeling very disconnected from my physical body. And I think I have become a lot more comfortable with my body over time and felt a lot more present in my body over time. But I still have difficulties enjoying sex for this very reason. Just finding humans disgusting, no matter how clean that they are. Just, I don't know. I think I do have a lot of it. I think it's all having to do with like hygiene, but even when someone is very, very clean, I still am grossed out by their body fluids and I don't like even the slightest hint of body odor. I don't know why. I know that that is very unsexy, but I don't know. This is how I feel. Maybe it's like a sensory processing type deal related to autism. I'm not sure. I have read that some autistic people can relate to me and they've had success with things like exposure therapy where they just put themselves in the disgusting situation and over time they just got used to it and even learned how to like it. And I'm certainly open to trying that and I will try that. But I just wanted to talk about where I'm at right now, which is I feel very lonely and isolated. I've been single pretty much my entire life. And I think a huge reason that I'm single is I'm just not very attracted to anyone, even though I do identify as gay and have identified as gay for almost 10 years now. I'm just not very attracted to men or anyone for that matter, And I think a huge reason I'm not attracted to men is I do have this perception of men as being very gross and very dirty and very gross. Like I have a huge like overactive disgust response to most male bodies. And strangely enough, I don't have it to female bodies, even though I'm not attracted to female bodies at all, but I'm also not as disgusted by them as I am to male bodies. And I'm not quite sure how to make sense of that, because I think that's very unusual, and probably no one on earth can relate to that at all, especially any of the gay men that I talk to on a regular basis who seem to really love the physical aspect of sex and love having as much sex as they can possibly get, and most people feel like they're not having enough sex. So I feel like this is something that I really need to overcome, and I don't know where it stems from either, because I feel like I've always felt this way, even when I was, starting puberty when I was like 12 years old, and starting to have sexual thoughts. I always kind of didn't really care for the actual physical aspect of it, and I was perfectly happy to just enjoy my imagination, and the actual act of having sex is so much less interesting and appealing to me than porn or just imagining it, because I don't really like the physical aspect of it. I don't like the smells, I don't like the taste, I don't like the texture, I don't like sweat, I don't like saliva. Another thing I really don't like is kissing, which has been really challenging with every person that I've dated, because every single person that I've dated has loved kissing and really, really, really wanted to make out with me, and I just find kissing so gross because there's so much saliva involved. And I also wonder to myself, if my partner were a vegan, would I be as disgusted? Because I'm a vegan and I've been a vegan for 15 years, and none of my partners have ever been vegan or healthy for that matter. So maybe that plays a role. Yeah, maybe if I had like a very health conscious partner who ate a really clean diet, maybe I might feel differently about his body fluids. But I just find most people really gross. Not just their body, but also what they put into their body is really gross. And I think that plays a huge role in my ability to be attracted to them. But I think it's mainly psychological, though. I think it's a psychological hang-up, because I don't know that they truly are any more gross than any other guy. I think it's just a psychological thing where I'm like imagining that they're very gross. And I don't quite know how to overcome that, because it feels so hardwired, because I feel like I've always felt that way my entire life. So I'm not quite sure how to undo that. And I don't know where it stems from. I doubt that that's, genetic or biological, because then how would our species have ever survived if we felt that way? You know what I mean? So it could be maybe trauma related, or I don't know, but I just kind of wanted to talk about this because I felt like surely there are probably other people out there who feel the same way. And to my knowledge, I've never met those people in my personal life. So I felt like the only way to connect with them was to connect with them online. Especially since I am a man, I feel quite alienated, feeling not very sexual. And I feel all this social pressure to like sex and go after sex and try to get as much sex as possible, and it just doesn't appeal to me. And to some extent, I do feel inadequate. And I have had my testosterone levels checked, and I have very high testosterone, so that is not the reason. I also have very low sex hormone binding globulin, so I have a lot of free testosterone. So that is not the issue. It is not a testosterone thing. I think it is a psychological thing. I really do. I think it is a psychological hang-up about saliva. And I remember growing up, I was always really afraid of sex too. And that is probably why I feel this way to some extent, because I remember I'm a very risk-averse person. I don't like taking risks, especially with my health. I'm very health conscious too. And one of my earliest memories about sex and learning about sex was learning about STDs. And back when I was younger, I was so afraid of STDs, and I thought to myself, I don't know how people can have all this casual sex. Don't they know that STDs exist? And I just remember growing up very afraid of sex. I also grew up in a highly religious culture where sex was demonized and considered like a sin against God. And I'm not religious at all, and I don't believe in any of that, but that was the culture I grew up in, and that probably influenced me too. But I really think my hang-up about sex is really health related, but it's also like a phobia. I really feel like this is a phobia that I need to overcome, and that it's all psychological, because I hate living in fear, and I hate that sex, which I think sex is a really fun experience, or at least it can be, but it can also be a really scary experience if you have all these limiting beliefs about it, like, STDs are horrible, and if you get them, you'll have them forever, and no one will ever love you if you have an STD. Like, all these stupid beliefs that are, like, very not helpful, and that just hold you back from enjoying your life and having fun experiences. And I don't want to live a life where I feel afraid to have fun, And I feel like for most of my life, I have been afraid to have fun because I am so extremely scared of taking risks. But I feel like, if you never take any risks, then what is even the point of being alive, right? I feel like, a life without risks is no life at all, and I feel like sex is part of that equation. I feel like, but ideally, I think one reason that I find I'm so frustrated is because, in my ideal world, I would have a long-term partner, and I would just have sex with my long-term partner, and my long-term partner would be someone that I'm highly attracted to, so I could tolerate, the aspects that with other people that I don't have that loving connection with, that I struggle to tolerate with them. I think probably one reason that I have never really felt very satisfied in my sexual experiences is because they've all been emotionless. They've all been just shallow, casual connections. And I've never had, a long-term partner who wasn't abusive. I've only had one long-term partner, and he was highly toxic and abusive. And aside from him, I've never had a long-term partner before. So I think if I had a loving connection with someone who I loved and trusted and treated me really well and made me feel good emotionally, I would love having sex with him, but I just have never found that before. And maybe that's just maybe I just don't like casual sex, and maybe that's okay. Maybe some people just don't like casual sex, and maybe I'm one of those people. And I just feel like very alienated because of that, because I feel like the gay community is so hypersexual, and every single gay man that I know is hypersexual and is always talking about sex and sex parties, circuit parties, hookups that they've had. Like, I don't know any gay men who I relate to on this level of not really being hypersexual. I feel like every gay man I know is hypersexual and talks about sex all the time and thinks about sex all the time, and I just don't relate to that. I just feel like, I don't know, sex is fun, but I feel like there's more to life than just that. But also I feel like, I don't know. That was a lot of thoughts all at once, kind of disorganized and scattered thoughts. I think I have a pretty disorganized and scattered brain, so that's how my thoughts come out. Sorry about that. I don't know. I don't know. Ultimately, I feel like this is a phobia and I need to overcome it. And I just wanted to talk about it because I bet there are some people out there experiencing this too, or maybe ideally you've experienced this in the past and you've overcome it, and you can tell me what to do. I would love to know, how can I overcome this issue, because I feel like it's holding me back a lot when it comes to, meeting people and having relationships and enjoying sex. And yeah, I don't know. Let me know. Okay, thank you.